Hey you guys, I'm still grabbing ingredients. It's been really crazy here. We'll get into all that in just a minute. I'm going to finish grabbing all the ingredients and we'll just talk about it. Pretty sure I have some wrapping sauce in here still. No, I'll have to grab a jar. Might have to grab a jar. And I gotta grab some carrots. I'm gonna have Bree wash our carrots whenever she gets to it here. And we're gonna get rolling. There's gonna be the occasional fly, but trust me, we've already hung up fly strips today, so it just is what it is. So today was crazy. I'm just gonna go over my day since we have a few minutes and there's not very many people on yet. So this is our mess over here, and Bree's part of it. Anyway, we had a roaster full of chickens and broth. They got unloaded. I still have to can the broth today. Inside my fridge, which isn't looking very good because it's full of produce that needs to be canned. And then we had corn, sweet corn coming today. So let's see, how many did we get? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So 12 quarts. There's approximately 4 to 5 corn cobs per quart. I'll let you guys do the math. It was a lot of corn this morning. And then once the roaster was empty, which is beyond Brie there, we filled it back up with zucchini salsa, which is in my cookbook. If you guys are interested, I love it because if you're buying produce, which I'm not buying produce, but it just stretches your harvest so much further. It's in the very, very back, the canning section. Zucchini salsa, page 165. And I love it because you only need like 3 pounds of tomatoes. Hey, Heroic Pepper. Hey, Jackie. In order to make a whole batch. So you can stretch your tomatoes so that you have more tomatoes for diced tomatoes or more tomatoes for sauce or whatever else you're going to put up. And then you only need 3 pounds of tomatoes. And then I think it's 12 cups of zucchini. So if you haven't grabbed my cookbook, the link's down below. It's still on sale. Check it out. All you got to do is click and pay and I ship it right to you. Alright, so tonight's recipe is not inside my cookbook. But I'm just going to wing it because it's like with all of my stir fries. This is a regular in our house because it's mommy's tired. We're just going to throw some stuff together. So, I have a big skillet. I do not use a wok. I don't own a wok. This is my big cast iron skillet. It's kind of the country way to make a stir fry, I guess you could say. So I have this going, and then I also have a sauce pot back here in the back that we're going to do some noodles in. Now, you don't have to add noodles, but whenever we go to like a Mongolian grill place, we always end up adding a few noodles. So I never use the whole box. That's why this one's already opened from a few days ago when we had a stir fry. But I do add a few noodles. You have lots of options though. You could totally skip it and load this up with veggies if you wanted to. But I just love this meal because it's super fast. And then I'm going to go grab a zucchini. We're going to put some zucchini in here because it's zucchini season. I'll be right back. And then we're going to get going. It's a good way to disguise zucchini because you're still going to know it's zucchini, but it's going to have all of the stir-fry taste. So it's actually quite good. All right, so my whole counter is full here, so let me move some stuff out of the way. And then we're going to start chopping. I'm also going to be putting cooked chicken in. You could also use raw chicken if you wanted to. Totally up to you. Or you can use beef. I've used ground beef. I've used all sorts of stuff. It's really good in a multitude of different ways. All right, so this as I've discussed before, is a huge cast iron pan, okay? And a smaller burner. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this over medium-high heat to get it heated up, and then I will reduce it down to medium heat since this is cast iron. We don't want to be over medium heat. In the meantime, I have my homemade sriracha sauce. I got this recipe off of another YouTuber. I'm not going to remember, Becky's Homestead or something. Is that right? Doesn't feel right. I don't know. Anyway, I got this hot sauce recipe off of YouTube. And so that's what I'm going to be using tonight, but you sure could use your favorite hot sauce or omit it altogether. Yeah, sweet pea.
Where would you like these?
Okay, you done with all those? All right, we'll put them in this pan right here. Thank you. Are you off now?
Yep.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and put, I'm going to eyeball it. 4 tablespoons of butter, 2 tablespoons, not sure. It doesn't really matter because you're going to add more anyway. Basically, the goal is to keep this pan with fat in it so that as you're cooking things, you have fat that helps to disperse the flavors that you put into it. And like I said, you can totally do this grain-free by just putting in vegetables. I'm going to go ahead and do an onion, and if you have raw garlic would be the way I would go with this dish. My garlic is curing outside, and I didn't have a chance to grab it, so I'm actually just going to use garlic powder tonight. The raw garlic would add more flavor, but you know what? I don't really want to go all the way out and get it. So, this mama's running out of energy. But I'm glad that we have the class tonight because I would be tempted to say, woo, maybe we should just grab something somewhere. Preserving days are quite rough. For those of you who don't have a garden or don't put up a lot of food. It's a lot of work going from one thing to the next. All right. So I'm just going to dice up the onion, and you can dice it up however large you want. My husband will not be eating with us tonight. He is on his way to his weekly Bible study. So I actually don't mind if I have huge, long, large slivers of onion. Okay? So I'm just going to throw all that in there. But you could dice it again if you want. But the girls and I and William, we love onions. So you could also use purple onion in this if you wanted to, if you prefer that flavor. Alright, so I'm just going to start sauteing. And I'm going to go ahead and reduce this burner down to medium heat because we've got cast iron here. So it's starting to sizzle, so it's ready for me to reduce that heat. And in the meantime, we're going to prep some more stuff. I'm going to put carrots in this because we love carrots. Basically, you can put almost anything in here. I just try to think of the things that we typically gravitate towards if we go to like a hot Mongolian grill type place. What are you going to grab? Well, we like their shredded carrots in our stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and shred some carrots. If you hear popping in the background, those are my amazing, superb lids. I'm in love with these after a whole day of canning. But you're going to hear those pop throughout the class tonight because, well, I've got a whole bunch of jars of corn over there that are sealing. I have to admit that when I started the corn this morning, I guess I was naive. It's been a few years since I've actually canned corn, and I was like, oh yeah, low acid, 30 minutes or something into the canner. Oh no, it's like almost an hour and a half into the canner for quarts. So it was a much bigger project than what I was anticipating. But it'll be so nice to have that home-grown organic corn on the shelf. For the winter, we like to use it in like soups, like a corn chowder or as a side, all of those sort of things. So I'm not going to do as many as I usually do. Usually I do 50 quarts of corn a year, which is like over 200 cobs. Because I'm pregnant, but also because Azure Standard has organic canned corn for like $1.50 a can. So basically each one of my quarts is worth about $3, and so I can just easily fill in the gaps that way, and their corn tastes amazing, their canned corn. It is great. Okay, so this is full of carrots. So I'm just going to leave it sitting there so it doesn't spill everywhere. while we wait. I'm going to search for a spoon. We'll use this one. So we're just going to saute this, and we're going to start adding ingredients here in a few minutes. If you had raw meat, you'd be adding it right now. So one thing you're going to notice is I'm using butter to saute. You could also use lard if you wanted to. If you were going to make this a strict Mongolian meal, you might try to lean towards their oils and stuff, but a lot of those oils are processed oils or are not healthy oils, and so I just stick with butter. And it's not going to taste exactly like a Mongolian grill, but it does still taste very, very good. And I tell you what, we live almost an hour away from the closest place that has a tiny little Mongolian grill, and I'd rather cook this and eat this than drive all the way to town to have sort of the real deal. I hope you guys are doing good tonight. All right. You can even do steak and stuff in this, just whatever you want. Pork, it's all good. So we're just sauteing these till they're about half cooked, and then we're going to start adding the rest of the ingredients. So I can go ahead, and you can do mushrooms too. If I had mushrooms, I'd be throwing mushrooms in. But it's just all about personal taste. So I'm going to go ahead and cut up this zucchini. I'm hoping there's not going to be very many seeds. We'll find out. Zucchinis like explode and they get away from you, and then you're like, wow, that has a lot of seeds in it. Let's just see. I'm going to go clean this zucchini out into the compost. There's just a few seeds in it. And now the other half. My cookbook also has a recipe for zucchini salsa. So, or not salsa, I mean zucchini, pineapple zucchini, which we usually make every year, but I still have enough jars to get us through. We didn't really use that much this winter. Okay, so with the zucchini, I'm just going to chop it into small little squares. And then about, once we get all the stuff added to the pan here in just a minute, we will go ahead and start boiling our noodles. It's kind of about timing because you want those noodles to be able to absorb a lot of the yummy flavors while you're sauteing. So I'm going to start adding stuff. I am currently working on dehydrating my sprouted wheat. So once that's dehydrated, I can grind it, and I will be putting out a video on homemade cream of chicken soup and how to can that. Just a forewarning, it is not USDA approved, but I've used it in the past and love it. It's great to have it on the shelf. And like I said in my last video, if you look at the back of a cream of mushroom or cream of chicken can, Campbell's, the third ingredient is cream. So I don't know why they can can dairy and we can't, but I will tell you I've been doing it for several years now and it's completely safe. All right, so I just have zucchini and carrots in there. I'm going to go ahead and add some green beans. These are frozen ones from Azure Standard. I could use fresh, and I was going to use fresh because I have fresh to the fridge, but I am running out of steam. So this is all about quickness and getting it done and getting everybody fed for the night. And we'll deal with fresh green beans tomorrow. So again, just however much you need in order to fill up your skillet. I've also done asparagus in this. It's really good. Okay, green beans, and I'm going to do a little bit of peas, because peas are kind of fun to have in a stir fry. You could also do peppers. I mean, there's a ton of things you could stick in this. There's another pot. So since we're going to be adding noodles, I'm not going to go all the way full on this skillet because I got to have room for noodles. So if you're going to plan on noodles, make sure that you leave a little bit of air space. And as we discussed last week, you sure could use zucchini noodles, but make sure that you soak them with healthy salt first and squeeze some of the liquid out and then bake them and then add them to your stir fry. A lot of people write off zucchini noodles and they don't ever try them that way. And let me tell you, once you remove a lot of that liquid and you bake them, they're really good. They're good in lasagna, they would be good in the stir fry. They are good all around. And they take on the flavor of whatever you're cooking. That's why my zucchini salsa recipe has you soak it with salt first, and then you're squeezing all the liquid out of the zucchini, is because you want that zucchini now to take on the flavor of the salsa. Okay, so this is sauteing. I'm going to run these two frozen goods over to the freezer. I'll be right back. Okay, so as I stated before, the goal is to keep the bottom of the pan with fat in it. If you're using unhealthy oils, or they're usually using stir fries, you would be drizzling it, okay? So I'm just kind of moving the food to make sure there's still a little bit of butter on the bottom of the pan. And I'm going to move this out of the way. So I've got my chunk of butter here in case I have to add more. So we're going to let this start cooking. When it gets about half cooked, and you'll notice like your green beans are thawed on out, then we're going to add the rest of the stuff that we're going to saute in. In the pan back here on the stove, we're going to go ahead and start it on high heat. And I'm going to add my noodles when it comes to a boil. And that'll get going. This is just another pan that has canning lids in it for our canning of the zucchini salsa after we get done with the class. So for the sauce, I'm going to be using coconut aminos. We don't consume soy here on our farm, just due to the links it can have on your hormones, etc. So I buy coconut aminos from Azure Standard. They actually have killer deals, you guys, on coconut aminos. You can get it in a whole gallon or even smaller than this glass-sized jar. But it's just so good. It's a great one-to-one replacement for your soy sauce. And then I'm going to be using sriracha sauce and then some smoked paprika and garlic powder. We're going to add all of that. I'm going to reach up here and grab some garlic powder. So I'm just going to sprinkle it. If you really like garlic, you would do more. I've also sometimes used cayenne pepper if you're liking like spice. Cayenne pepper works well, or like a dried Anaheim chili powder would work good. My kids don't really like spice as much as I do, and I think it's because when I was pregnant with them, I ate too much spice and like burned their taste buds right out of their mouths before they even came out. So I'll probably skip the cayenne pepper and I'll just stick it out for those who want it. But you sure could drizzle that on here as well. Alright, I'm going to give it a stir. Okay, so the stuff on the bottom is starting to thaw on out, so we're almost ready to add our liquids to the bottom. And once again, this is cast iron, so it's all still over medium heat. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and add our chicken, because mine is cooked, but you sure could use raw, and it would have already been in here by now. I've discussed it before on previous videos, but I usually take our whole chickens and I cook them down. Not all of them, but some of them. And I either can that meat or I separate it out into 1 pound freezer bags. And then I stack them like books into the freezer because it takes up a lot less space. We raise all of our own chicken here on the farm. And when butcher day comes, that's a lot of chicken to go into the freezer all at once. And because of that, I have to get creative of ways I can store it. And so if you cook it down, not only do you get broth and then bone broth, but you also get cooked chicken that's ready to go in a meal, which is really nice. There are a ton of different flavors you could put in this though. You could do cumin, One time I did a whole bunch of garlic. I did like a whole head of garlic because I love spicy and I love garlic. Those are my weaknesses. And it's not spicy enough for me unless I get the hiccups while I'm eating it, which I'm pretty sure means that my body's rejecting it. But I just think it's delicious. And I keep eating and I take a drink of water to get my hiccups to go away. I was never this much into spice when I was a kid, but it seemed like I grew up and I was like, oh man, time to light my own mouth on fire. So that's what I do. And you can add as little or as much meat as you want. This is going to be about a pound of chicken, but I've also made this same type of stir fry with, like I said, ground beef. I've never made it with steak, but you sure could. My kids are not big steak eaters, so I don't do a lot of meals with steak, but you can do pork chops. Just use whatever you have on hand. I mean, even if all you had was hot dogs would still be good in this. Wouldn't be like you'd get at a stir fry restaurant, but you sure could pull it off. All right, so we're just stirring this. Just trying to break up the meat a little bit. And I have just a little frozen chunk over here of green beans. When I made this with asparagus, it was really good. Okay, so I'm a little bit low on fat at the bottom of the pan. I kind of go into the middle here. And what I'm seeing is liquid from the frozen vegetables, like water, but not fat. So I'm going to go ahead and add another couple of tablespoons of butter. This is like a really, really nutrient-dense meal because of all the butter that's in it. You cook with a lot more fats when you are cooking with cast iron because you don't want things to stick. And you also keep it over medium heat so you don't want things to stick. But in this case, it adds a ton of moisture in a way for you to soften up all of these veggies. Okay, so we're going to go ahead. I'm going to sprinkle it one more time here with some garlic powder. And if you don't like garlic, omit the garlic powder. That's okay too. It just adds a lot of flavor. And I'm going to go ahead and sprinkle it with some smoked paprika. This adds a ton of flavor. If you don't have smoked, you can do regular paprika, but the smoked really gives it a nice flavor. And I actually do have Anaheim chili powder. It's a green that's been smoked, you know, and that would be really good too. But once again, on the borderline of being way too hot for my kids, so I would have to eat the whole pan by myself if I mess this up. So I'm just going to keep it simple and keep it with stuff I know that they'll eat. Okay, so all of my vegetables are about half cooked. We're waiting for the water to come to a boil in the back there. And I want to get a garden tour video out for you guys. It's just been nuts. August for me is very, very, very nuts. Because it's what I affectionately call tomato hell. It's basically when all of a sudden all the tomatoes in the garden come ripe. And it's like all I can do to keep up with tomatoes and making tomato products. And then corn comes in. And, you know, the beans are rocking. And there's just a lot. Just a lot happening all at once, I feel. And for whatever reasons this year, I decided that we would butcher our meat birds in August as well, which probably wasn't the best choice. So if you don't hear from me, don't get worried. It just means I'm really busy at doing what I gotta get done. But I will try to pull out the camera and make videos from each little thing. Maybe even a day in the life if I can have the time to edit those. Okay, so this is about half cooked. I'm going to go ahead and start mixing the sauce to go inside of it, okay? So I got out a tablespoon measurement and a measuring cup. So let's cook. There's a ratio is why I'm going to do it this way. So we're going to do 3 tablespoons of coconut aminos. And like I said, it's from Azure Standard. And you can use this mix with whatever you're putting to the pan. Even if you're not going to add noodles, it still tastes great. Next thing is my homemade sriracha sauce. It's Acres Homestead. Acres Homestead here on YouTube is where I got the sriracha sauce recipe. And I made this last year. I have a ton of this. I made way too much. But we're going to go ahead and add hot sauce to this mixture. And I usually only add 1 tablespoon. And then I put this on the table. And if someone wants to add more, they sure can. But once again, not all of my children appreciate their mouths being burned. So I just have to offer it kind of free choice. All right, so I'm going to watch the bottom of this pan, and when it goes dry, let me turn the light here. It's dry, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to drizzle this mixture over the top. I'm also going to start seasoning this with salt because the vegetables are thawed out now, and that back burner with the stock pot is almost ready for the noodles, okay? So I'm going to get some salt, if I can find it. Hang on a second. Here we go. So we're going to be using healthy salt, of course, which means it's colored. You're looking for pink Himalayan or Celtic sea salt or real salt, salt brand, all good choices. And just in case you're new, the reason why we choose colored salt is not because we're salt racists, but because the colorants of the salt helps your body to handle the salt itself. And the salt that you buy into the store that is white has already had all of the minerals removed from it. And they're just selling you what's left, okay? So we want to make sure that when you're selecting salts and you're using salts that you have the complete food, it's not processed, so that your body can handle that without causing health issues. God made it a certain way, and it has everything, it has the whole thing in it, and there's a reason why it's all together. Whoops, I'm getting messy here. It's popping out. There we go. Okay, so now I have a simmer back over here. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and make some noodles. Now, the main attraction here is not the noodles, in case you guys haven't figured that out. If your family's main attraction is noodles, I would slowly start increasing the veggies that are inside your stir fry, so that the noodles become less and the veggies become more. For me, it's about 1/3 of a box of noodles is about right. It's just enough noodles for them to say, oh, there's noodles in this, but not enough for them to only get noodles, if that makes sense. So this box already has been used, I think, twice. It's a 1 pound box. And these are organic noodles from Azure Standard. I do have a noodle maker. I just have not, I've only used it once since I got it. I need to get it out and use it again. But I didn't get a chance on a day like today to make noodles ahead of time. So we're going to say thank you, Azure, instead. All right. So you just want to make sure you're like constantly stirring this because we're not using a wok. And you don't want things burning down to the bottom, and you want the flavor of the sauces we just stuck in to be evenly distributed instead of just on where we poured, you know. And a lot of sauce is down on the bottom, and so we want that to be able to touch everything and give it a good cook. Okay, so this is boiling with the noodles. I'm going to set a 10-minute timer because if I don't, I will forget about the noodles, and then they'll be all slimy, which nobody wants that. If you saute and you start noticing your pan is running dry, you can either just drizzle some more coconut aminos or make up the mixture of coconut aminos and sriracha sauce if you like spicy, and drizzle it back on over. We're just going to keep on cooking it until all of these vegetables are soft, and then we're going to add the noodles and keep sauteing it so the noodles absorb some of that flavor, and then it'll be done. So easy. Here is my sprouted wheat. Check it out. This is the stuff that wouldn't fit on the dehydrator this afternoon. So it's waiting to go onto the dehydrator. The dehydrator is like mostly full of tomatoes because I'm making sun-dried tomatoes for some other recipes later on this winter. I know technically they're not sun-dried if you don't do them in the sun, but a lot of the commercial ones that you're buying in the store are actually done, depending on the brand, are actually done on a dehydrator. I'm going to turn on my vent. Surprised William hasn't come in yet for the milk. I have done this in 2 pans before and had it turn out just great. long as my phone will allow us to, which I don't know how long that's going to be, but the noodles were done. All you've missed is a little bit of sauteing, okay? And I've added the noodles, okay? And so now the noodles are added, we're going to go ahead and add another mixture here of 3 tablespoons of the coconut aminos and 1 tablespoon of the hot sauce, because we want those noodles to get that flavor. Okay. We're going to saute that. And you'll know it's done when the noodles start to turn kind of a brownish color. It means they've absorbed all of that flavor. I mean, you sure could, you know, serve it just like this, but I like it if the noodles have flavor instead of just tasting like noodles. I'm like literally throwing food everywhere tonight. Sorry you guys lost me. I'm hoping that you guys come back. But it was beyond my physical control. I mean, I know my kitchen is hot, but I don't think it's that hot. I've got stuff sauteing. I've got, let's think about this. I've got a roaster going. Got the air conditioner going though. I'm not sure, because like I said, when I tried to use my phone after it quote unquote overheated, it said that my phone wasn't part of any network, so I had to restart my phone. And so anyway, I'm finally here. I'm finally back. Just gonna drizzle a little bit more of the coconut aminos. Whoops, down with the lid. So, I'm also gonna do another sprinkling. This is all up to you. Another sprinkling of the smoked paprika. And another sprinkling of garlic powder. Okay. Okay, the noodles are starting to change. The noodles that were on the bottom are starting to change color. Sorry if you're just jumping on, you just missed a whole bunch of sauteing. And the noodles are done, so I just add the noodles and I add a little bit more of the mixture of coconut aminos and the hot sauce. And now we're just dropping noodles all over my kitchen. We're sauteing this because we want the noodles to take on some of the flavors that are inside the pan. Okay? Hey, Jackie, thanks for coming back. Yeah, technical difficulties. Apparently my phone decided it was not part of any network right in the middle of our live, so that was fun. But after a full restart, it works fine now as far as I can tell. Knock on wood. I don't know. I've had some weird phone stuff happen. Sometimes you just gotta roll with it. They're also doing work on like the nearest tower towards me. I mean, it's a 15-minute drive, but they are doing work over there, so I almost wonder if that has something to do with it. Like maybe they had to disconnect it for a few minutes. Don't know. Anyway, this is almost done. You can always take a fork and taste those noodles. Same thing applies for zucchini noodles. And the noodles on the floor I'm going to throw away. You can taste it and see if they have any flavor. If they don't yet, you're not done sauteing. So I'll taste this one. They're almost there. Another thing you can add to the pan is water. Filtered water to keep the moisture going. So I'm going to add a little bit. Because it sure does cook up fast. I was also going to say before I was cut off that tomorrow's my ultrasound. So if you're a praying folk, if you just pray, not that I think there's going to be anything wrong with the baby, but it's always nice to be known you're surrounded in prayer. I'm praying for a healthy baby and everything to measure just fine, and the placenta to be out of the way so no complications, so I can proceed forth with my midwife home birth plan. So if you're a praying person, please pray for me tomorrow. This is almost done. I'm so excited. You sure could add some more butter. You can just pile on the butter, however much butter you'd like. But it's got to sit for probably a minute or so, and then we're going to stir it again. And the noodles that are on the bottom are going to be brown. Or if they're zucchini noodles, they won't turn brown. They'll just have flavor. So there's that difference there. You don't want it to sit for too long. If it sits for too long, the carrots will start to burn down to the bottom. Alright, I'm going to taste those noodles and see where we're at. I'm going to salt first. I'm going to do a little salt sprinkle. I'm going to bless this food with some salt. And when I'm checking for moisture in the pan, I always check all the way around the pan. Because right now this side of the pan has enough moisture, but this back side over here is actually quite dry. So I'm going to grab just a little bit of water to pour back there. You just don't want stuff to stick. Okay. One more flip and I'm going to taste the noodles from the bottom. Ooh, they look nice and brown. I bet you they're done. Let's see. Yep. So just like that, this meal's done. I'm going to turn off my burner. And it's not going to be too spicy. I don't really taste, of course, my version of spice. I would add a ton more spice if it was just me eating this, but it's not. So we're going to leave it like that. The kids will love it. It'll be delicious. William's not coming over for his milk. He wanted to watch Thomas the Train. So that's that. Let's see, what else? I have got I'm working on a deal with Prairie Rock Honey, which is my favorite raw honey company. So if that deal goes through, then I'll you guys to use when you go to order honey. So stay tuned for that. What else? It's hot and there's a lot of stuff to preserve. It's pretty crazy. Although I will say I've been using my Azure Standard tomato powder instead of the tomato paste that's called for in my zucchini salsa recipe. It's been working really good. Let's see. What else? I think that's it. I don't know what I'm going to be cooking next week. I have no idea. So you have to stay tuned for a pre-scheduled event that I'll get up here on the channel. You guys can click the notify me. Once again, I love these lids. So if you're in the market for canning lids, check out Azure Standard. That's the cheapest place I found, other than an Amish store in Wyoming. Thank you, Julie. But superb lids, they are really great. I should go over and check my corn. I'll go check my corn and see if all of them sealed. Yep. The only thing about corn is like they're sealed, but now we have to take the rings off when they're cooled and clean the jars because it gets that sticky, what's it called, starchy sides from the. So anyway, that. Oh, I know what else. I made a yummy. This looks very yummy now because we ate off of it, but a yummy sourdough lemon poppy seed bread. Okay. So if you guys are interested in a video on how to make this, leave a comment down below. It's really good. It has yellow squash in it. And you can't even tell because you think it's lemon peel. So if you're interested, comment down below on that. I'll get that one up there. Let's see, what else is new? I think that's it. Just crazy preserving. So, dinner's done. So I guess what I'll do is I'll say goodnight to you guys since he's not coming for his milk. And I will see you guys next week. If you guys have any questions or video requests or just want to get in contact, my information is down in the description box, always will be. If you need a cookbook or places to order good products, that's all down below as well. And I guess that's it for now. So you guys have a great night. See you guys next week. All right, take care.